There's really nothing amazing about this movie, except maybe Emma Stone's legs and the fact that the director is named Mark Webb. No slight against him, but there are so many disconnected ideas in this that they might as well have picked him based on his name. The Amazing Spider-Man follows the same format as every other Spider-Man origin story. Nerd gets bitten by a radioactive spider and turns into the web slinger after his uncle is brutally struck down. But that's the part of the movie's problem. It doesn't do enough different to make this a reboot. I obviously had my doubts when I heard that this movie was being made a couple years ago, especially when they didn't cast Donald Glover. But the finished product didn't do anything to correct my initial concerns. My main issue with this movie is that it didn't have the emotional connection that the first Spider-Man had. I know you shouldn't compare the two, but when they come out 10 years apart, you can't help but do that. You actually cared when Uncle Ben was killed, or Peter Parker had to kill Norman Osborn in the original. In this one, it didn't even feel like Peter cared when his uncle was killed. So why should we? The Amazing Spider-Man is not worth the price of admission. You're better off watching the original and Spider-Man 2, or maybe even going out and getting bit by an actual spider. At least that pain won't last as long. I would ask you how you felt, but I'm pretty sure it's the same how I felt.
I mean, there's some stuff that, you know, like being a nerd, comic book nerd, is just like, hey, they stuck to that original idea that he makes his own web shooters.
Kind of. He just ordered it from Oscorp.
And so like that is like, oh, hey, I like that idea better. But I mean, you know, and the fact that like Gwen Stacy gets included and isn't like, what.
Yeah, I like that they had the other character that didn't just stick to Mary Jane.
Right. Well, they had to do something. I think the biggest omission is like J.K. Simmons, of course.
Yeah, like that was one
Jameson.
thing when I was watching this, was that it reminded me that the first one is so like timeless. I feel like because of like the casting, like J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson, Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. Like it's all of the casting. That is so perfect, and also you have the emotional aspect behind it. And in this one, there's no line where it's like in the first one, it's like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I think they intentionally just left that out. You know, it was like I kept waiting for every time like Martin Sheen, who's great, would give a speech, and I was like, oh, he's gonna say, and then he wouldn't. And so
he had to go to the West Wing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had to go rule the country again. So you know, but yeah, it's just piss poor. Like, I mean, all the acting was great. I think it's just the writing. Like, I'm sure that, you know, there was 3 credited writers, but that probably means like 12 people had a hand in it. And honestly, like it wasn't like, you know, like for example, the biggest thing with Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone's character, is like in the beginning she's like kind of tough and like sassy, and all of a sudden she's like super vulnerable. And it's not like it's like dynamic character. It's just shit. Like it's
just like immediate. Like as soon as their uncle gets killed, she's like fawning all over Peter Parker.
Yeah. And it's just there's like no real pitch.
And then when like Flash immediately also switched to being like his bus buddy after his uncle gets killed. It's like, that's not realistic. And I mean, there was just so many things where it's just like the characters aren't doing what I think that they're supposed to be doing.
Or what any good writer would write them to do, I guess. It was all just kind of like, they left what was done by somebody else on the page.
Yeah. Oh, and we should also mention the fact that this revision of Peter Parker was it was too awkward.
Oh,
like his little like twitches and stuff like that.
Yeah, he would just have the strangest like
he'd like just move his head a lot like that.
Yeah,
and you're just like, is he a robot that's malfunctioning, or is he a hummingbird? It's one of those two.
Based on the acting, it was probably the former. But I don't know.
We know that you'll probably disagree with us on this, especially Andrew Garfield, who is definitely watching this right now. So let us know what you think about this movie and whether or not you think that Sam Raimi version is better. Follow us on Twitter at POA Frequency and our Facebook page, Price of Admission.